A poem called Let the Flies Feast. A poem called A Body for Special Occasions. I want to hug a tree so hard my shoulder blades come apart like barbecue wings. At his funeral, Grandpa's body fell out of its plywood coffin as he was being carried up to his sloping grave over the Bosphorus, and his shroud unraveled to display his small, pale body. A relative had to descend to help lower him and started screaming, saying down there the earth remembers and you forget, and the earth talks, it does not stop talking until reality is forced back by startling means. People are made of nothing. Some have lots of it, which makes them interesting. They teach us loss, these visions, the only lesson of importance, from which all others emerge like the passages and byways of a town filled with music and curses. The young imam read a beautiful prayer, so beautiful my mom could let the startling go. My computer, understanding that a fugue is about process and errors, prefers starling, or rather, it was the beginning of that. Her son passing his math exam, too young for a funeral. A year from this, his father will skid and drive the car straight into a tree, and snow will never be as perfect to him, as essential, quiet, utterly itself and vital and devoid of all else, snow which, a moment ago, had almost killed him. Edge, otherwise, sweet backlit death. We all yearn for love, yet in what shape it comes, at first, is not up to us. Write your childhood till there's nothing left. Trace every smell to its root, every color, root each memory. Is it damaged? Is it so pure you might as well have been a god? Forget it. Among love's acceptable ways is screaming, blue in the face, because particle entanglement applies to the mouth too, and to feel completion once is to mourn it again and again. No one masters the art of being destroyed, but maybe they learn to stand up for themselves, which they must feel at least once in order to truly commit to love, but also family, labor, rebellion, and destiny. In the ancient Sumerian myth, Inanna, who is spurned by Gilgamesh, sends her husband's brother, Gugulana, or the bull of heaven, down to spoil his realm. But he fails, and when Inanna tries to attend his funeral in the underworld, she is asked to show herself to Ereshkigal, her sister and nether queen, who finds her unjust for causing so much death, kills her and hangs her on a meat hook to rot. Until Inanna's father sends down the Gala, demons who know nothing of the physical world, eat no offerings, drink no libations, accept no gifts, enjoy no lovemaking, and Ereshkigal, who has killed her sister, experiences birth pangs. The Gala comfort her, reflect her pain in song, repeating her words verbatim, and the queen returns her sister. No sympathy, which is impossible between the living and the unliving, but a mirror, and when this does not come to pass, terrible things, like the burning of villages and the murder of family. The tradition we inherit, morph. The catch, no one returns from the underworld without replacement. Inanna hands over her husband, whom she encounters dressed for the gods, expanding his kingdom and clearly not mourning. But his sister volunteers herself, and a compromise is made. The siblings will spend half the year on earth, half underground. Thus summer and winter, thus a woman saves a shitty man. And from a woman saving a shitty man, the seasons, the terms of our survival on this earth. Like the Gala, dry for months, you eat from your geostash or the middle school time capsule. Sit on your haunches and eat from the middle school time capsule. The body forms a tensile offering. Supple branches wade up and down the river. It is when her husband's sister sees Inanna again that their conjoined lament convinces Ereshkigal to make the siblings' sentence part-time. And in the sister's hair, winter turns to spring. Don't ourselves understand this when they unite over a wound, their tiny itching, tempting, telling not to meddle, even though it's one of our greatest pleasures to scratch. Go around, they say, and we like this too. Build a whole poetics out of it. The pleasure of the tightening gyre, joy that lets an uncentered center heal. Thus dozens of little centers over a lifetime, near invisible map of cuneiforms white as snow. Thus collagens draw over red rivers, fibers over Styxes, while that great leather, brain under siege of its opioidal receptors, begins the long work of selective forgetting. Illness forces us to be spiritual. My people bring meaning to the saying, untrue and unfair, that it's not the circumstances but how you handle them. I never said they handled them well, but at least our collective unconscious pulses with the awareness that paranoia is always a political condition. Don't put on that green scarf, kid. Don't get on night trains, you'll get lost. Don't play that harmonica in the streets, you'll get shot, kid, wrote the communist poet Attila İlhan, addressing a young renegade alone in the streets of Istanbul during your military junta of choice from any decade since the 1950s. But he could have been addressing a young Kurdish boy in southeast Turkey today, or a black boy in Ferguson, Missouri, or Detroit, Michigan, or Sanford, Florida, or Kenosha, Wisconsin, from beyond the grave. I find I must smuggle kindness in the American city. I've never understood the word PDA and had the strong sensation some of my lovers were being watched by it, the Baptist Church, Proud Boys, or FBI, with the eyes of atomized hatred. The US does everything to convince you your paranoia is a personal condition, except if you're a white boy, in which case it's anything but. Verily, an artist who hates their people is a fraud. Not their country, their people. A country being several hearts of the same octopus, one or two willfully unaware of the others. Every arm endowed with the intelligence of a pain body capable of weapons. After all, we too are an empire and live the humiliation daily of being our own oppressors. I wouldn't get anywhere near that wound if I were you, says the voice that threatens you with exile. Our president of Syrian Kurds says war has killed and displaced. They are not fit for desert life, referring to the lands they've inhabited for thousands of years, relegating Kurdish existence to the mountains of Turkey and Iraq, where they are a priori our enemies in hiding. The image of guerrilla fighters who have combated our military, the 15th largest in the world. Octopuses use weapons because they're basically mollusks that have evolved out of their shells. Imagine developing neural pathways in each of your tentacles, each capable of decisions, so alert you must be to your environment, an eternal condition, the outsourcing of your fear and pain even into reflex. Is this what the infinitesimal is? The kind of pardon that need only be close to its savior and pardoner, often itself alone or its comrades, the gossamer thread of caring dependence, an action, defense that fights grief, that ties us from our mother to every wink and trembling and spar and fragment of respite. There are many similarities between the Gala and Anatolian jinn, since the three-lettered cannot bear children, and sometimes you will hear their wedding feasts outside your home, as my friend's great-grandmother did, holding her granddaughter, his mother, watching them stream into her rural home, their feet facing backwards, pleading for the babe, saying, "Sister, we cannot conceive." Take your protective measures, hang your sidr leaves, or keep iron handy, whose sound will do the trick, and don't fall prey to their suffering, which we cannot understand or appease, and which they will use hours to convince us of. Slipping through the semi-fluid of a dreamlike yolk to reach something almost human on the other side. Grandpa, his eyes tilting to the corner, the only one I know who's come this far, tells me the wind will blow us away if we stand there too long. Where? In the bardo of the recollection of past lives and the witnessing of future ones. How much is too long? He cannot answer. The dead are given few words. The prayer, a part of it, goes like this.
اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وعافه واعف عنه وأكرم نزله ووسع مدخله واغسله بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقه من الخطايا كما نقيت الثوب الأبيض من الدنس وابدله دارا خيرا من داره وأهلا خيرا من أهله وزوجا خيرا من زوجه وأدخله الجنة وأعذه من عذاب القبر وعذاب النار.
Mother touches his plywood coffin, though he, like all Turkish Muslims, will be buried without it, naked except for his shroud, and the landscape changes for good. A friend throws their pills in the sink. A bird gets shot. It helps me stay awake to think of how stupidly I once lived. It still lives, I can say, looking at the innocent ardor within me. A poem titled Chaste as a Tree, or I Fought a War for You, or Look, Every Cell is Moving.